Hello there, kia ora. As we get to the end of the year, we start to see a bunch of retrospective content come out. Like Word of the Year, which was rage bait. The word was rage bait. It's not rage bait saying what the word. Look, it makes sense if you get the context, all right? And that actually inspired my newsletter for last week on how some rage bait is used by some of our most well-known terrible people to keep other people who are generally terrible angry. You can read about that in my newsletter, which is linked in my bio, which wasn't the reason I came here. I'm not here to do like the whole big self-promotion thing, but when in Rome and with the script in front of me, I might as well do it. Anyway, this year, we're currently in the middle of polling for the Massey University Quote of the Year. The Massey Quote of the Year competition was started 14 years ago by the late Dr. Heather Cavan, a uni staff member with expertise in speech writing, extreme religions, and media law, which is a hell of a combination if you wanted to go into something like New Zealand First. Anyway, past winners have included Hello Darling from a kidnapped cockatoo, Nah We're Just Three Māori Boys in 2023 from people that were helping with the Cyclone Gabriel cleanup, and David Seymour's I would have thought that Grant Robertson would be a much bigger threat to Lamingtons than Lamingtons would be a threat to Grant Robertson. In fact, the greatest tragedy of that year's voting for Quote of the Year is that halfway through the voting period, Jacinda Ardern called David Seymour an arrogant prick, which means it wasn't in contention to take out the prize. And I am sure if we had the chance to make an award-winning quote out of calling David Seymour an arrogant prick that was repeated to him constantly forever, most of us would take that opportunity. But it's too late now. Anyway, this year's finalists are fascinating. There's the typically Kiwi comment from gold medalist high jumper Hamish Kerr saying his goal was to jump higher than a ceiling, because, they're kind of tall. There was a comment from Taika Waititi on the importance of giving Indigenous voices and Indigenous storytelling, and there was a few options from politicians, which act as a fascinating insight into the political year that was. It's like a verbal time machine. Like Christopher Luxon's Go Make a Marmite Sandwich comment over complaints about the shoddy school lunch program, a program that will be returning to the original model next year after a number of high-profile and repeated issues with the system implemented by not award-winning arrogant prick David Seymour. There was that weird line from Judith Collins, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's not looking good, is it? And I understand some people don't think ducks look good, they're crazy, but that's not what she's talking about. She was talking about the Independent Police Conduct Authority report into Jevon McSkimming and how complaints had been handled, which include issues around what Police Minister Mark Mitchell knew and the timeline of revelations. And Mitchell really pissed Judith Collins off this year when he made insensitive sexist comments claiming he didn't know if gangs could handle perimenopausal middle-aged women. The side-eye in Parliament is something he was lucky to have survived. There was Chloe Swarbrick's line saying, if we can find 6 of the 68 government MPs with a spine, we can stand on the right side of history. To date, none of the government MPs have grown said spine or shown that they had one prepared earlier, and the government has doubled down on the wrong side of history, refusing to acknowledge Palestinian statehood at the United Nations, in a move that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said was probably not the right thing to do, but it was celebrated by people committing genocide. There was reporter Andrea Vance's comment about pay equity changes. Turns out you can have it all so long as you're prepared to be a can't say that word, to the woman who birth your kids, school your offspring, and wipe the ass of your elderly parents, which gave ACT the weirdly perfect opportunity to act like they had charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent, and use the dirty word in Parliament to vilify the opposition, who didn't call her that, but it made ACT supporters believe that they did, which is a real ACT move. And then there was Nicola Willis saying that she wouldn't set a precedent that the way to get a meeting with her was to don an adult nappy and chain yourself to her office, when we now know that the way to get a meeting is clearly find the worst finance minister of the past half a century and threaten to have a debate about who would be worse while a lobby group that terrible former finance minister runs makes homophobic fudge-packing jokes while taunting you into cutting even more and being as truly historically awful and deadly as the person you agreed to debate while ignoring the issues facing everyday Kiwis, like how we're going to afford power and food this Christmas. The winner of this year's Quote of the Year will be picked based on public votes, with voting finishing at midnight on the 15th of December. But all of the quotes are fascinating windows in time. And the ones from Coalition MPs seem to show, yet again, that context might be king for understanding. But a fool with a crown is still just a fool with a different funny hat. Hey, thanks for sticking around till the end of the video. While you're here, why not hit that like button or share the video or even subscribe to the channel. You could even become a paid YouTube member so you can see things released in advance, you get access to some exclusive content, and like all these awesome people, you get to have your name at the end of the credits as well.